Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to continue my series about is it like having a cat, and I'm going to talk about adopting. I think this one's going to be a little bit shorter than some of the other ones, so you at least have that to look forward to, unless you wanted to see even more of my cat. So, when you're adopting, there's going to be some paperwork. The amount of paperwork will vary a lot. In my case, I didn't really have to prove my identity or anything, but I did have to answer a few questions and give out my address and stuff like that just to, make sure that they're keeping as much record as possible and that they have an idea of where the cat's going to end up and the type of home the cat will end up being in. The paperwork, in my case, I caught them in a very busy part of the season, so it was a couple weeks before, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks before it was really processed, and they were fine with adopting the cat out to me and scheduling a drop off because they have a policy. The shelter that I went through has a policy where they do a home visit with the animal. So the vet visit, uh, there may be vet visits like between the point where they say, oh yeah, you can absolutely see or adopt this cat, and between the time where you actually get to bring it home, right? There may be last minute medical stuff. In my case, it turned out that Gabby was pregnant with a litter of six, I think. So that was a surprise to all of us because she had a relatively small frame and wasn't really showing it. Uh, but there'll be last minute vet visits to do things. Usually, more typically, they'll be finalizing vaccinations or finishing the round or a round of worm treatments or something like that, right? Like, uh, the pregnancy was probably somewhat more atypical than a normal experience would be. And in my case, they actually missed a worm treatment, so I had to give her her final one at home, which was fine because she's, as a general rule, pretty tolerant. Um, so then, like I already said, in my case, there was a home visit, which was them dropping off her and making sure that the home was overall reasonably safe, right? Like, I didn't get the impression that it was their goal to judge my home or anything like that. It was more like they were wanting to make sure they weren't dropping a cat off with a hoarder or anything like that, or um, because I was adopting a black cat as we were approaching Halloween. As much as I hate to say it, it's not unheard of for people to adopt and kill black cats, particularly around Halloween, just because they can. So I wonder if maybe that was another little side goal they had of seeing, just in the vaguest sense, what my home was like and making sure that I had a plan for her. Because if they dropped the cat off and I didn't have a litter box or food or a room that she was supposed to start out in or anything like that, and no plan at all, they either, I'm assuming, probably in my case, would have helped me come up with a plan, or, depending on how they felt about you in general, in this case, because the shelter's free to deny somebody service if they're afraid of what they'll do to the animal, they may have just said, well, you clearly don't have a plan, and that makes me feel like somebody who's only interested in flying a plane, not taking off or landing. So if I didn't have a plan for the cat, that maybe would have made them nervous about what I was going to do with the cat or whether or not I was going to be a fit pet guardian slash owner, depending on what phrasing you're comfortable with. Um, again, the experience will depend a lot, but these are some of the core components you can really probably expect when you're adopting a cat. And for me, the whole process took, oh boy, I think the whole process took maybe like a month. It felt longer than that, but I think it was only a month. So, yeah, I don't know I bet typical, like I've seen cats at other shelters, like somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I want that cat," and they just adopt the cat out that day. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But at this shelter, because of their policies and timing, it was about a month, and there's nothing really wrong with that either. It's just all about what the shelter's comfortable with and how comfortable they are with you, and sometimes even the cat, right? They may, if they know a particular cat needs a particular kind of home, they may be more likely to visit your home and make sure that you're a fit owner for the cat. If they're adopting out a kitten where you can't really fully assess the personality of it anyway, it may be less concerning to them and they just kind of hope that it works out all right. So I think that's all I'm going to talk about in this one, and I will see you guys in the next one.